How's the body these days?
The body is pretty awful. So the last year has been a rough year physically. I think I think we all have our time where it starts to get tough, and this last year has probably been that for me. After the season last year, I played every game last year in the NFL with the Giants, but I just had this like really bad tendonitis, and I went to go try to join the Olympic team, and that tendonitis just wasn't kicking, and I got an MRI, and like my quad tendon was torn, so I had to have surgery. And just dropping out of the Olympics and having that surgery, and then going to the football season, trying to rehab that. Then my other knee had some pretty serious issues, and I made about halfway through the season, but to this point, I've pretty much worn the cartilage out of my knees, and I'm having. I actually just had a surgery. It's a fairly new procedure in the United States, anyways, to kind of regrow cartilage, and I did that. I am 7 weeks. I'm in my seventh week out of surgery, still on crutches, so it's a monster. Had to reattach the quad tendon on my right leg too, and just yeah, it's a lot. So um, long story shorter, yeah, I mean it's been rough, but at the end of the day, it could always be worse. I'm hoping, like every other surgery I've had, I just kind of come back from it, and it's part of it's what you sign up for. And like I said, it could be worse. It could be my head. It could be a nerve issue. I got some cartilage damage, but at the end of the day, we'll get it fixed and carry on.
Yeah, for sure. Good stuff. And you mentioned there, like playing through injury. It's something like a lot of rugby players know as well. But would that be kind of pretty standard as well in the NFL throughout your career? It's bangs and bruises, but you just keep going.
Oh, absolutely. I don't think. I mean, there were more games in the 10 years I played in the NFL that I had something going on than the days I just walked out there and I was like, nothing's bothering me. I feel great. Like that's just not a real thing. I mean, maybe when you're 16, I mean, even in college, you get some stuff here and there, but I mean, it happens, and you try to mitigate that as much as possible, and take care of your body and do what you can outside of um, the competition, the actual game and the weightlifting that is required. But you play a violent game, you get hit hard, your body can only take so much. For me, it wasn't even hitting people, it was just the speed of which we would run, and I would just slam on the brakes as hard as I can, to try to decelerate to make a play, throw a guy by me. And it's just repetition and repetition and repetition of that after years and years, and all these games, and practices, and throw rugby on top of it. Yeah, my knees are just like no more brake pads in there. So yeah, I mean, but like I said earlier, it's what you sign up for. It's fun, and if you can't handle that stuff, you probably aren't. It's not for you. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, for sure. And do you do much like hitting and contact in training, like during the week?
like NFL teams, it depends on
Yeah,
it depends on the coach. Um, I think as a whole, well, it's tough. It's tough to relate to rugby because there are, like, when we have rugby sessions, like you have contact sessions, like weekly and sometimes multiple times a week, and but they're just so controlled. Like rugby is just so controlled with how you're in contact, and I think that's the most beautiful part of the game. But with football, I'd say, when I was in New England and we were winning, we were a tough football team. We were in full pads once a week, and there'd be a part of that practice that was pretty lit. I mean, we were smashing, and but it's probably 30 minutes at most of a Wednesday practice in full pads, and outside of that, like I mentioned, you get to week 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 in the season. It's like, I'm just trying to get to the game. And if you can't, there's a side of me that truly believes if you can't play in the game without smashing somebody in practice from a technique standpoint, like you need that. Like you're a professional at this point. We can't just continually hit each other. Sunday, you get Monday off, like Monday recovery, and then Tuesday, and then Wednesday smash each other Thursday. Like you got to get to a point where you can play the game without playing the game, essentially. So, but then I've played on other teams, like recently the last couple of years in New York, and it was a lot less full pads, so but it's very fluid. I mean, if the team has a ton of injuries and the offense and defensive line, those guys are the ones smashing the most. So it's like, sometimes you just can't do it for the health of the team. So it's like I said, it's a fluid situation. Depends on injuries, depends on the coaches, but ultimately I'd generalize and say about once a week, guys hit for a portion of practice. And then outside of that, it's pretty controlled. I'm a skilled player too. So I'm running around catching the ball and covering people and, special teams, working hand placement, but even the offense and defensive line, they're not banging heads every play or anything like that. So.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's interesting because I was thinking about a lot with rugby, how it's like we're lower in the amount of contact we do during the week. Like when I think back when I was a kid, you were every session you were going full on for 40, 50, 60. You're just a lot, I think they've realized people just get too banged up and they're not ready for the weekend. But then it's interesting you say it there. And I fully agree that like at some point in the week, you got to hit to get that kind of, to get your eye in kind of,
Well, it's like when you're young, it's easy to hit. I remember in high school, we'd tackle in every practice, but I mean, it gets to a point where we're all grown ass men and the collisions are not, they're violent and you're trying to win the contact every time. And it's, it's not, it gets to the point where like your professionalism and your skill set at tackling is already at such a high level, the detriment to what you could do to yourself physically is not worth the maybe incremental growth you might have in your ability to tackle, right? And as well as I do playing, like for instance, tackling is like, it's a will thing too, right? So I don't know. Yeah, I think it's a fine line when you're a professional because people are bigger, faster, stronger, and it's more violent. But speaking of that, I hate the red cards on the high tackles that are not malice intent. It's one thing if I don't know, that's just my opinion, but what I've been seeing lately is like, if I'm like genuinely trying to take your head off in a illegal way, like red card for sure. But the way some of these in the Six Nations, like it's like the guy was just, the levels weren't right. And, give him a card or even, give him a penalty, maybe a yellow, but like, it's not like he threw a forearm to his face. I feel like red cards change the game too much to be giving it away for for a player that's not genuinely trying, like he's trying to do the right thing, you know what I mean? Like he like the Italy game, like the guy just, I mean, the level was so close, and you slow it down into super slow-mo and you're like, oh, that's contact to the head. It's like, well, and like the runner has no responsibility for dropping their level either. Like, I don't know, I just don't think it's worth a red card. It changes the game too much, and we got super soft with that.
I think it's teething problems right now for sure. Like you've guys who've been for 20 years, 15, 20 years playing a game a certain way, and they're like trying to bring down the tackle height, and within like now, like you got to lower it now. And then guys, obviously, like yourself, it's muscle memory. You play the game.
It's not only that for me, it's also like if I'm trying to win the contact, I can't go low. I can't go super low on you because you're going to fall forward on my shoulder some way. Like I have to get you up in the air and stop your momentum. Right. And at least that buys me time to get my team with me to support me if I at least don't win the contact. But, if I can get you up, now we got a chance at the ball. Maybe I'm driving you back, and I'm buying time, all those things. It's a very effective tackle in the way, the philosophy of the game. But, I hear what you're saying too, but you start to change the game if everything's got to be a chop tackle, right? Like, I mean, it's an attribute for a guy that's a, tight head that can just stand there and take anybody right down the middle and not move. But you make him go so low that you know what I mean? That I don't know. That's just my thoughts. I think it's a violent game. There's going to be moments where things happen that you don't want to happen, but you can't just – the red cards, just like that Italy game was just – Italy-Ireland, I think it was. The game was just ruined after that.
That was tough. That was tough. Even the Irish back rower, Peter O'Mahony, when they went down to 13, he was like looking to the ref. He was like, what? Like, he was kind of like, surely? He's like, no. Like, he was even a bit like, this is going to ruin it going down to 13. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the rules and everything, we could talk about that too, but that's crazy. And you could see it just took, like, Ireland was like, all right, we got this. And they were just kind of out of it. The game was just so deflated after that. But, like, you just hate to see a guy come into a tackle with honest intent. He's trying to stand the guy up and stand his ground as best as he can. Like it was not like there was, like I said, there was no malice intent in that. And then he's getting red carded because of we're talking about an inch level change. Like that's just not respecting the speed of the game. And whoever's making these rules is crazy to me. I'd love to have those conversations. As a player, I just know it just doesn't work like that.
Yeah, the slow-mos are different as well. But you watch a lot of Six Nations. You're still watching rugby all the time.
Oh hell yeah, I watch every day. The Six Nations is one of my favorite tournaments to watch, though. It's just international rugby, really. I mean, it's just at its purest form. It's at its cleanest. It's the way it's meant to be played. I relate it to, being in the NFL as long as I have. I can't, it's hard for me to watch college football. Like, even the best teams, it's so, as a professional, I mean, I could see how, like, college kids and, like, families that don't know anything about football get into it because they're, like, the school pride and things like that. But, like, if you know anything about football, it's just, like, the football level of, like, the plays and stuff, the chess game, if you will, is just so watered down in college, which it has to be. I mean, these kids are young. They're not professionals, so they don't have the time. So it's not anyone's fault, but, like, they're young and less experienced, and the game is a little watered down from my perspective. So it's hard for me to watch. So I love to watch professional football. I love to watch, when it comes to football, I love to watch the game being played at the highest level with the most chess match moves guys can think of, with the best athletes that, are out there to do what they're doing. And I think it's the game at its purest form, and international rugby is the same for me. Like, it's, how just simple things like dropped passes can just affect the flow of a game. When you watch international rugby and those types of things are out of it, it's just can be like that England-Ireland game.
Incredible.
Was a great game to watch. I mean, fantastic game to watch. It came down to, like, the last literally like 8 minutes or something like that. It was that was my favorite game so far of the tournament.
Yeah, me too. I'm Irish, as you might tell from the accent, so I was happy for that one to beat England.
Sure. I wanted Ireland to win as well, but I've got the English boys too, so it was splitting hairs for me. It really was. But I guess I thought they would win. But man, if England had 15,
yeah,
that could have been
for that.
Yeah. See, and another one, that one is worse to me because the guy didn't make an attempt to. I mean, I think as a tackler, it's your duty to get your head on the right side.
Yeah.
I mean, but it's just, I struggle with the fact that for me, a red card should be like with the intent to like hurt
Foul
or
play.
foul play, right? Like, yeah, you tackled the guy on the wrong side of the head, you caught him on the chin, and you should get a yellow for that. But like, red cards change the game so much. Again, like what that game would have looked like with England having 15 the whole time.
Yeah, who knows? And the funny one then as well is when you go down to 14, you get so like pumped and amped, and you're like, we're gonna,
right.
you know,
Right.
like I've been on those teams where it's like, all right, and you kind of everyone bands together and everyone like plays to make up that extra number, and then you get this
the stadium was rocking. The stadium was absolutely rocking. That had to be a fun game to be at. That had to be a fun game. Like, kudos to England for how tough they played for 70 whatever minutes. Like that was, but Ireland was too much. But yeah. So I watch all the games. I love watching rugby. I grew up playing rugby my whole life, man. It's just it's a player's game, It's at the end of the day, the coaches sit up in the box. I love that. I'm used to, we got 20 coaches on the sideline, and their microphone in your helmet telling you what plays to call, and before the play they're saying, watch out for it's just like the coaches have such an influence on the game. Whereas I just love rugby because it's like, we'll talk about it, we'll practice during the week, but when you guys step on the field, it's U15 and figure it out. Like, I don't know. I like that. The sports are for the athletes, the people playing. And that's just something about football I've just always struggled with. But I mean, I grew up playing rugby and basketball, which are two sports that are like for the players, like you coach it, obviously, like you get better and stuff. But at the end of the day, it's those games are fun too,
Yeah, 100%. And in 2016, when I heard you were going for the Olympics, I was like, oh, this football guy who played a little bit of rugby when he was in high school, I bet, is trying to transfer back. And then I listened to your book and I was like, you didn't play any football. Like you're not a football player.
Not a football player. It's funny, man. It's like when I got to Ohio State and the NFL, they're like, you're the rugby guy, right? Like everyone in football calls me the rugby guy. And then when I came back, everyone in rugby was like, "Oh, you're the NFL, you're the football player," and it's just like I'm always one or the other. But no, I mean, look, I played in the NFL for 10 years. Going back on my story you just mentioned, like I always wanted to. Once I made the decision to walk on at Ohio State, I always wanted to like try to make it to the NFL, but to look back on that now and be like, bro, you're going to play. If I could tell myself you'll play a decade in the NFL, like I never would have thought that. I mean, the average career now is less than 3 years. So it's like, I think when I went for that, it was always like, I'm going to find my way back to rugby, like I'll probably play a year or two, I'll get cut and, I'll play pro rugby somewhere and back to my roots. But then, it turns out I was kind of good at it, and there's a lot of money involved. And I mean, it's just, that's the type of stuff that changes your life. And I had worked extremely hard to do. So it's like, as much as I love rugby, for me, the right decisions was to stay there and make as much money as I could. And, and for me, that makes me want to help grow the game of rugby to the point where a kid in my shoes doesn't have to make that decision that played rugby. I would love to see it at a point from a salary standpoint or financial standpoint that they can be in a place where it's like, I'm going to be not only just fine if I play rugby professionally, but it's going to set me up. It's going to give me a head start in the world if I play pro rugby from, 19 to 24 or whatever. I want the game to be there because if it was for me, I never would have played football. I needed any reason in the United States to stay playing rugby, and there just wasn't one. It wasn't a pro league. I didn't want to play overseas. Our national team wasn't very good. Like, I just didn't have any reason to not try to play football. And the football thing worked out. So that's what happened. But no, man, I'm definitely a rugby guy. Grew up with the rugby ball, played rugby my entire life. I mean, I played football when I was super young, but you know how that goes. They just hand me the ball and I just ran around everybody. It's not like we're playing football. It's the same thing with
Kids
rugby level, But yeah, man, I mean, 15, 16 developmental camps with the United States team. And from then on, I was playing rugby until I was, 19 or 20, 21. I played in the sevens, college sevens tournament in the United States, and played rugby most of my life. Football's just been my day job.
Yeah, nice. And like you played rugby high school, and then, as I say, you went to a couple of World Cups with the USA 19s, 20s.
Yeah.
And then you went to Ohio State to play rugby, and then you were just like 19, 20, like you say, and you're like, I can't have a career. I can't make money doing this. So you'd followed your dream all the way along. And then you kind of, I suppose, got a bit rational, like, I'm getting a bit older and I need to earn money.
Yeah, I mean, that got in there. I think for me, it was it was a culmination. It was a perfect storm of things that happened in my life that got me to make that decision. From the rugby side of it, it was like, I just played in 3 junior World Cups, 2 under 19s, like you mentioned, 1 under 20s. And, we're playing South Africa, some of the best players in the world that are, South Africa's under 20 team had like 22 of its 26, like, under contract, and that was cool. I mean, that's the type of stuff I needed to be fed, to scratch my itch, was playing rugby at that level and competing, because I knew I was definitely capable of, like, playing at the level. I needed to play at it, though. I needed more of that. And then, I got back to Ohio State, and it was like just club rugby, and they were more worried about the party after the game. And, it's just me versus everybody. And it's just, I'm not getting any better. And I just would get so frustrated. And if I passed you the ball and you knocked it on, like, I just won't pass to you anymore. Like, it's just, it's not, I'm not playing the game. It's just, it was stupid. I'm chipping chasing in 15s just every time I get the ball, trying to just do everything myself, because I just don't even trust anybody. Like, it just, I wasn't the way I wanted to play. And I put too much into it. But it's okay. That's what club rugby is for, in a sense. But there was nothing else for me. So yeah, I start looking around. Oh, here I am at Ohio State, the biggest football school in the world, in the country, and it's like, I wanted to play football in high school. I didn't, because of all the rugby. And I was like, you know what, screw it. Like, let's just see what happens, walk on and see what happens. Cause I wanted I got a taste of that competitiveness of international rugby in the U20s and stuff. And that was exciting, to play the game at that level. And I think I wanted more of that. And so, and even though it came in a different form and being in football, American football, I didn't care. And obviously I lost my dad, and there was a lot of motivation in that to I told him I was going to do the football thing to go forward and really make that conversation become a reality. And, the rest is history. I just kind of dug in.
Yeah. Sorry to hear about your dad. And
thank you.
But so, yeah, so did you fully believe in yourself the whole time? So, like, you're playing rugby. Rugby is a small sport in the States, like a kind of niche sport. And then you get a taste of it on the international level, but it's still, compared to college football, Ohio State playing 100,000 in front of 100,000 people, and it's like so huge. And you're going from rugby, this small sport, relatively, to say, I'm going to go and walk onto this team. That's
a good question. I mean, I would say I always had a lot of confidence in myself. Like, I was just quietly confident. Like, I didn't need to talk about it. I was always kind of like, I think I'm the fastest, the strongest. Like, let's just line up on the line and see what happens. Like, I was always about it. And, I think playing international rugby against, like I said, I just use the example of South Africa's team was, 22 of 26 were under contract. I'm like, these dudes are professional athletes too. Like, these are the best athletes in the world that play the sport that I'm playing, and I'm playing it with them. You know what I mean? Like, I knew I was athletically fine, because these guys are all under contract. So yeah, athletically, I'm going to go to Ohio State and play the best athletes that are my age playing football. I didn't know anything about football, but I knew athletically I would be fine. That gave me a lot of confidence playing in the World Cups. And then once I started to really like do it, I just grew in confidence, because every day was like, I'm a workhorse, if you will. So it was just like I could just outgrind everybody, and then I start to see like I am stronger than all of them, or I have more willpower, and I'm willing to fight harder, or whatever I needed, I was able to tap into, and it gave me confidence. And you mentioned the 100,000 people in the stands. It's a massive thing. I mean, sport in the United States, they've really mastered it from an entertainment perspective, and it's absolutely nuts. I will say that. But you get to a point where I walked on in January or something like that. I just lost my dad, like walked onto the football team, grinded through these workouts, these walk-on workouts, which were absolutely insane. They try to get everybody to quit, and then we had spring ball, and you learn a little football. And it's just like, I know nothing about football. I thought I did, but like the details are like what make athletes good at what they do. What make anyone good at anything that they do is the details. And so I'm just like, it's just this wave of things I'm trying to take in mentally about the game so I can catch up. I only have 3 years of eligibility. I walked on technically my junior year. Well, sophomore, but the season was over. So my first season would have been my junior year in college. And yeah, just taking all this in. And then you've got summer training camps and just conditioning. And, you get to a point where they break the film down so much in practice, and you get crucified so much for every little step you take, and things it's all trying to make you better, right? But you do it so much and you get used to it so much that you start to like play the game knowing, fuck, I hope that's not on. Oops, sorry. You're like, I'm hope that's not on film, right? Or I hope it doesn't look like, you're so worried about the film because we just watch so much film that you're just like, the coach is going to get on me about the film, or I hope he doesn't put that in front of the whole team if I do something bad. Like, you're so worried about doing something good on film. Like, you don't even notice there's 100,000 people. Like, it's not even, it doesn't matter. Like, you get so crucified if you mess up, like in a team session on film with no fans around, in a practice session where the whole team's in the auditorium, and you do something, bad or something good, and they're like, great job, or this is terrible, we don't ever want to see this. But those film sessions can get so intense that whether, obviously you try to turn up and take the energy, but for me, I didn't even see the fans, man. I was just like so focused on what I was doing because I wanted those film sessions and everything to be good. So, ultimately, to answer you though, like I did have confidence in myself, and the rugby really gave it to me playing in those World Cups. And at the end of the day, I was just willing to, after losing my dad, I was just willing to be like, F it. If I don't make it, so I don't make it, I'll play rugby. Like after losing my dad the way that I lost him, nothing could be worse than that. And so to walk on and try to have this great experience where I make the football team at Ohio State and get put on scholarship and maybe go to the NFL and all this crazy dream, if it didn't happen, it wasn't going to be worse than me losing my dad the way I did. So it's just like, who cares? If they say you suck and you're too slow or whatever, get out of here. That's what they say. But if the dream comes true, the dream comes true, and that'd be awesome, what you did. So it was worth it.
Yeah, that's cool. So you're like, I've nothing to lose. May as well try and do this
Right.
absolute crazy, crazy dream. Or
Yeah, it was ambitious, but it was one step at a time. You know, at first it was like walk onto the football team. Like I always was like, it'd be cool to make it to the NFL, but like can't think about playing in the NFL when you got 3 years of football to grow and you know nothing about football, you know. I mean, I think that whole journey was such a lesson in being where your feet are for me, to be present, and being present allowed me to succeed, but I was never ahead of myself in any of it. I wasn't thinking about playing my 10th year when I was in my rookie year with the Patriots. I was just worried about doing really well. And same thing with making the Olympic team. I was thinking about the Olympics quite a bit in the back of my mind, but you know what I mean? Like when I was playing football, I was playing football. And then once I like left to play in the Olympics in 2016, I was okay if I never played football again. Cause like I had told you earlier, like I wasn't expecting to play as long as I did. I already played 4 years before I went to the Olympics. And, you know, so I was like, I was all in on making the Olympic team. And I think all these processes have told me be where your feet are, be super present, be super focused, and give everything you have to it. And you know, amazing stories come from just little moments that are done the right way over and over again. And you have these small victories, and you're so present that it's like before you even know it, you know, things, you know, here I am, I'm 33 and I'm like, you know, 10 years in the league and the Olympics, like it's crazy, but like I was there for all of it, you know. The journey is the best part to me. So
yeah, 100%. That's so good what you're saying there, because like having that ultimate goal, that vision, like say with the Olympics, with the NFL, with whatever, but then just being ultra focused on what you're doing day to day and just being there. Because I certainly in the past would have like had this goal, but then you're kind of like anxious that you're not there yet. You're like, and like, am I doing enough today? Oh, I'm not there yet. Oh, and you're just kind of anxious because you're not at that like goal. But
yeah,
like you say, when you're just focused on the present day to day,
yeah.
you enjoy the journey, and it's
Talking
awesome.
about trusting what I call trusting the process of, you know, just, you know, for me, it was easy to trust the process because I had seen it. I think it's a lot harder in different realms of life. Like, am I doing the right things? Is, you know, is this the right way to go about this? You know, all these questions come out because you're thinking about the end goal, but you're not there yet. You know, I think it's harder to trust the process. For me, it was easier. I'm at Ohio State, the biggest school in football. And I told myself, if I can run faster and be stronger than these guys and get on the field and make plays, I'll play in the NFL because this is the biggest school for football. So the process for me was get on the field first, right? You know, well, win in the weight room, win on the field, and then get reps on the field, and then get to the point where I'm playing more and more and more and making plays. But the process was very clear because I had seen it work. If I have success at Ohio State, I will get a chance in the NFL. I had no doubt about that. So it was easy for me to keep my head down and just stay present and grind because I knew if I got there at the end, I would have the chance to go to the NFL. I think you know, it's easy for me to sit here and say, trust the process when I'm going into a process like a machine, like Ohio State. You know, had I been at a D3 school and out in the farm fields in Ohio, and, you know, that's a different story. You know, you wonder, am I doing the right things? That the process is in trusting it is a huge aspect of that for sure.
Yeah, I think it is even wherever you are. Like it's just something I've really learned has kind of hit me square in the face in the last couple of years. Like it is all about trusting the process because then you just get into your day to day. Like you focus on winning today in the weight room. You focus on winning this training session. You focus on it's just and you just become brilliant at those things. And then like you say, it all adds up. Like you're sitting there now doing all you've done, but every day you're just focusing on winning that day.
Yeah, win the day. Seize the
Yeah.
day, carpe diem. That's as
Yeah.
simple as that. But no, I mean, you know, we can get in our own way in our heads when we overthink if this is the right thing. And, you know, am I working hard enough? You know, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. You know, I don't know. I don't like doing that, so I'm going to put it off. I mean, it's just all in your head. You know, if we can clear minds, you can go about life so much smoother and achieve so much more. And it's all self-inflicted, you know, mentally.
That is so true. Yeah, when we get out of our heads, think life's good, life's fine. You
It
know.
is fine. It's just fine. It's all a head game. It's crazy. So
Yeah. One quote I love from the book is kind of like on this, but you can have anything if you're willing to sacrifice everything.
I believe it verbatim, you know, word for word. I mean, and my experiences of being this, you know, rugby player that never played football in high school or nothing, and plays in the biggest school in the country and makes it in the league and all the other stuff. Like those odds of that are just so, you know, fractionally low. It's just, they're almost non-existent. I mean, it just makes me, again, my experiences make me believe that if you sacrifice and you're willing to sacrifice anything for the one thing you want, you will undoubtedly have it. Because that's what I did when I decided to walk onto the football team. That's what I did when I got to the NFL and I wanted success. That's what I did when I went to the Olympics to try to make the Olympic team. I would just, everything in my life doesn't matter. The only thing that mattered was, you know, like you said, winning the day at my workouts at Ohio State, you know, winning the day at training camp, you know, or whatever. And to some detriment of my relationship, some detriment to family and I just, you know, I didn't have fun. I wasn't a big drinker in college, you know, I wasn't a social person, but because I know those things would influence me negatively, like, or I not necessarily they would, but they might, right? They might make me not sleep good. They might affect the way I would train the next day. And I was not willing to have that be affected because I wanted it so bad. I was going to maximize myself as much as I could and not risk the dream because I wanted it so bad. So everything got sacrificed. And in that process, I had success, and everything in my life has told me that. So, you know, with that being said, you have to really be willing to sacrifice everything, like everything. When in that quote, I not sacrifice a lot. You got to be able, I mean, it's got to be nothing is more important than this. And, you know, I had the success that I had, but I think there comes, you know, it's tough to do. So you have family, you have, you know, maybe you have kids, you know, maybe, you know, there's something you really like to do. I don't know, but again, I really am a believer that anyone can do anything if they really just, nothing else matters as much as that, and they put everything they have into it. I just, my experiences don't tell me any differently.
Yeah, I love it, and I fully agree. Like I couldn't agree more. And I think what people, you don't have experience of this, but people they kind of like themselves, but they do have plan Bs in their head. They do have, oh, if this doesn't work out, I'll do this, or they're kind of like half focused, or like, yeah, it's like you say, like you relationships aren't as strong because you can't spend hours and hours a day with your family or with this or with that. Like it's a singular focus. It's all in. It's like what they say, all in.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely. I mean, and that's kind of how I've done everything, and that's allowed me to do what I've done. But like I said, it's been to the detriment of a lot of other things. But would I change it? Hell no. You know?
Yeah.
You know, that's part of who I am. So
Yeah, for sure. And you mentioned their willpower earlier, and I think like that's one of a key thing for an athlete, or for, I suppose, for anyone to keep going through adversity. And yours is definitely built probably in the gym with your dad in the garage when you were younger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you wonder about stuff like that, nature versus nurture, right? Like what, and I'll never be able to answer, to what extent had no influence, it had, no one influenced me at all, would I have still been the same way, right? And I'm not a believer in that.
Yeah, no.
But there was some willingness in me that when my dad would challenge me, I would rise to it every time. And maybe it was with the grace in which he did that, without being like imposing, but he knew how to make me go. And I'd always go as hard as I could. And I think after he would just show me at a young age that it pays off to work extremely hard, and he would show me the growth. I reference, in the book, we would in our weight room, we would write our workouts down, or he'd do these mini Olympics with me where one year I'd jump so far or so high, and then the next year I'd jump further and higher, and he'd say, you've been working out all like, look how much further you can jump and how much stronger you are and faster, blah blah blah. And I think over time I had really just believed that the work I put in resulted in success and growth. And I think that ultimately, made me made my willpower stronger, because I knew that I had a hand in it. I knew that I would affect it, so that definitely gave me confidence in that.
Yeah. And yeah, I think it is definitely like a bit of both. I know when I was a kid as well, like, give me more, give me more. Like, you want to prove people wrong, you want to win, you want to compete. And
Yeah.
but then, yeah, it's probably a bit of both. So you've been in the NFL, I'd say 10 years. And when you started out, you thought a year would be good, and then 3 years would be good. And very few people do 10 years. But like, say you want to get signed up next year, have you ever any thoughts of rugby, like going back playing rugby when that's over?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I'm probably, I mean, I like have no cartilage in my knees, so I need to get to the point where physically I'm good. I probably am done with football, because like we've kind of talked about, 10 years is a long time. Never thought I'd be here, and I'm at the point physically where it's kind of out of my control. And I don't have any more padding on my brakes, right? Like, I need to get it fixed. So if I get that fixed, kind of both knees, and I'm feeling good, because if it weren't for my knees, I would feel pretty juicy. But if I get that fixed in the next couple of years, and it's like a really successful thing, and I feel good, I'm not gonna take rugby off the table ever. I mean, but shit, my dad played in a rugby game when he was 53, like the weekend before he died. Like, that's just kind of in the blood. Now, to what level I play it at, I reference that in the book. I'll go out and play touch if I can, and if I'm capable of hitting, maybe I'll play some club stuff. And if I'm running fast still and I'm strong, and they need me on an MLR team, maybe I do that. But right now, man, I'll never say no to rugby, but I physically need to just get to the point where I can go golfing and line up my putts. That's my priority at the moment. So, but like I said earlier when we first started talking, I mean, I signed up for that, but I need to get to a point where I'm good, so we'll see. I can't answer it, but I'll never say no.
Yeah, good stuff. I see, is that a Super Bowl like member or replica in the background?
Yeah, that's a Lombardi trophy up there in the window.
Nice one. And when you're having crazy success with the Patriots, or how long do you dwell on that? Like, you win a Super Bowl, are you, because you can't the thing is, well, you can't win year after year, can you? If you're thinking about how great you were last year.
Yeah. No, I mean, and Bill Belichick does such a great job with that. You know, he the cycles in which he worked were I just thought it was so good. Like as soon as the season was over, if had we won a Super Bowl, you know, you win, you have the post game party, you got a parade, you got a ring ceremony. I mean, these are all fantastic moments that are celebratory and fun, and they make the game worth it because we grind so hard, and it is a lot of hard work. And you know, 99% of people don't have that kind of success in the league, and you know, it's like to win it all. You know, only one team wins it, right? And it's you know, to be on that team and for years doing it, I was extremely blessed. But those moments are so awesome. But once you know that off season comes for the next season, like Bill would literally, like Bill has like this book in my mind, right? He has this book that's basically like, all right, day one off season program. You know, this is what I talk about, and we're worried about getting a good base fit wise and strength. And then when we start OTAs, which are like official team activities, that's what they stand for, but they're basically spring practices where we don't have pads on. That's what they are. They should be called spring practices. And he'll start with the basic install, which is like, you know, simple cover two, like we want to be force everybody inside out, make them run sideways. We don't want to give up inside, like, and we just go through the basics every time. And then we move on and we progress. And he has this system that every year it would go just like that. And then, you know, as a young player, it's like overload information, you know, but then it's like you come in next year, it's like, wait, I already learned this. Well, I learned something new about this now, but okay. So it's the same stuff. And then you get to year 3 or 4 and you're like, okay, I know all this. And you're just looking for little things to take in this time, you know, and I just love that process about it's a new year, like turn the page. And he'll always say stuff like, you know, it's a new team. We don't have every team every year is a different team. We don't have the same players. There's never been a season ever where we have all the same players that we had the previous year or the year after that. It has never happened. People get cut, people retire, people get signed from other teams. You know, it's just that's the way the league works. And he does such a great job of saying, okay, this is our team this year, and the urgency that's put in place to build that team and go forward. I mean, everyone buys into the urgency, so you forget about it. So as a whole, you know, I wish, actually I don't. I mean, I am who I am. I'm not a big celebratory person. We talked about the process earlier. Like, I enjoy the journey, and you know, the Super Bowl after party and stuff, that's fun, and all those things are fun. But like, you know, yeah, I didn't, you know, wear my Super Bowl ring around my hometown for 3 months after the fact. I was on to the next. I was bought into Bill's process, and I was trying to get better. And let's, you know, try to build a team to win games next season. It's just like, and that stems from him. You know, he doesn't allow you to sit, you know, in the spotlight and just glare back at the lights. He brings you back in and makes you feel like you suck and you need to go get back to work. You know, he's very good at making everybody feel like they're the worst players in the world. And you know, if you were sensitive, it wasn't a good place for you, because, you know, if you know what he's doing, he's trying to make everybody better, and he's just criticizing, and it's tough to argue with, because usually had good points when he'd say, or, you know, you're not doing this right or whatever. But, you know, if you were sensitive, you just wouldn't last. You don't last at professional sport, though. If you're sensitive, you got to be open to criticism, because you got to just get the most out of yourself, and telling yourself you're great at everything isn't how you get there. So yeah, he'd make us turn the page and go, man.
Awesome. I know you got to get to physio and stuff shortly, but just one more thing. With I'm pretty really interested. What I walked on, I was in a D2 football or playing rugby in a D2 school and coaching. Then I walked on, and but I did my shoulder, so I have a bit of experience of what it's like, the difference between football coaching and setup, and rugby coaching setup. And in football, like you say, there's a lot of like you did that wrong, like breaking down tape and kind of getting on the players so that the players then want to get better. And I feel rugby is a bit less of that, a bit less of being on the players all the time. I
Yeah.
don't know, maybe I'm off with that, but do you think that, like, say, going forward, the likes of Bill, like he's won so many, and coaches like that, that you can just be on the players, like on them all the time. Like you say that you're on edge a bit, or a lot as a player, like you're on edge about, say, your contract or different things, and that forced you to just be the best that you can be. Like, is that the best
I think
environment?
I hear what you're asking, and I think that is definitely unfortunately dependent upon the individual. But when
Mm,
you get certain individuals in the building with a certain type of character that are fighters, and you're
mm,
telling them that they're not good enough, the way they respond is to dig in and fight.
yeah,
And then they do better. And then Bill says, that's what it looks like. There you go.
yeah,
And those criticisms are coming because he wants you to do it the right way. It's not because he doesn't like you. He's not because he's like, I just don't like you. So I'm just gonna, and there are coaches out there, unfortunately, like that, and it's too bad. But
mm,
um, as an athlete, you got to take that outlier out and just assume this criticism is to make me better. And if you can walk into that professional setting with the mindset of everything that's going to be said to me can be negative. And honestly, there's a quote from Woody Hayes, which is an old time coach at Ohio State, who said, if anybody gives you a compliment, you should kick them in the shin unless it's your grandmother. And it's like, if you're at a professional setting and everyone's telling you how good you are, like, what are you getting better at then? And it's like, if you're the type of person that needs to constantly be told what they're doing good at, it's like, I just don't feel like you'd have the confidence to really play at the level you need to play at if you need positive reinforcement to that extent. Because if you're good, you're good.
mm,
I guess I don't know. Again, like I said, I think it depends on the individual, but you know, my experience with rugby is, and now with everybody being so young, everyone's allowed to talk, and everyone wants to talk about their feelings, and everyone, it's okay to get defensive and yell back at a coach who's just trying to help you. That's crazy to me. I feel like when we're in the environment and we're in the setting, we all come together and the team is above everyone. And the coaches are the gatekeepers, essentially, in my mind. And they're there to like help the team get better. And everything they're saying, if you're really bought in to this team being the best, is to make you better. So the team goes together. And if you're as an individual down here just getting sensitive to everything being said to you, and well, now social media says I shouldn't be talked to like that in a professional setting by you, and it's like you're focused on the wrong things. Like,
mm,
what how can you get better from this? And it's like, if you're sensitive, you're just gonna get in your own way. You're worried about the words they're using rather than the message. You're worried about them thinking they don't like me rather than maybe they're just they see something in you. Like why not see it that way? Why not see it as they see something in you to be really good, and they're just trying to get every ounce of it out of you. Just go with it. I don't know. I get the younger generations, it's hard. You can't talk to people a certain way. Like I said, everyone has a voice. I think it's harder to get people to buy into a team and put the team first above themselves, and I think in rugby, from my experiences, I think rugby coaches are much less critical. hold on. Sorry. I get some random phone call. I'm gonna have to take that later. But I was saying I think rugby coaches are much less critical. And if you throw it into the line out and it should have been, we catch it, but the throw wasn't really what it needed to be. Like, you need to be told that, and it's not okay because you caught it this time. It's what happens if the jumper on the other team was in the right spot. It's not necessarily you ran with the ball so great down the line and you got all these meters gained, but it's like if you just would have passed, you would have been back in support to catch the pass to score the try or whatever. I don't know. I feel like from my experiences, rugby is a little less critical, and I don't know why that is. I think because it's a player's game. I don't know, but if we could put the team first and understand that every criticism is just an attempt to make us better, things might go differently.
Yeah, I fully agree. And I think that a way, I'm thinking from a rugby hat and the way the culture is there, if you know your coach cares about you, and then if you make a little mistake or something and your coach says to you, I know that you can be better, you're going to want to be better. Like with the line out, if your throw isn't quite right and the coach says, I know you got more in you, you're going to go and work on that because your coach sees that you have, say, a bit more greatness in you that you can bring out, and that you have another level within you. Whereas if your coach is letting it slide and being like, that's acceptable, maybe, then essentially, if you think about it, the coach is probably saying, oh, that's your plateau.
Right.
Or 80% is your plateau.
They almost think like, when you do something shitty, sorry for my language, when you do something bad, and then they don't say anything to you about it, is it like you just, why are you not, I was always just to like, if I'm doing anything wrong, tell me. I'm going to work as hard as I can. I'm going to put all my energy into this. I'm going to sacrifice everything for this. And if I don't make it, I will sleep just fine at night because I knew my coaches told me everything about what I was doing wrong. I tried as hard as I could. I was, put all my energy into it. I sacrificed everything. And if I'm not fast enough, strong enough, smart enough, good enough, I'm not. But it's not for lack of effort. And it's not for, I didn't get in the way in my own head. I didn't emotionally break down because someone was telling me, my footwork looked terrible. All of us as professional athletes, there's so many bad moments. I mean, I was so bad at so many things, but I needed those moments, and there were growing moments. And obviously I've had more good moments than bad moments. That's why I've luckily been around, but like, there's no professional out there that hasn't gotten dogged, hasn't had bad footwork, hasn't had bad moments. So for anyone to act like, oh, that's not them, you're just fooling yourself. But, I thought you brought up a good point that like a coach, if they show that they care about their players, I think a lot of players need that because it's tough for me. I need to understand people are a lot more emotional than I am. I've been through a lot that has made me realize what's important in life, but I don't wish that perspective on anyone. And if they want to get, so worked up that they're in tears because their coach wants more out of them, I think that's silly, but that's their perspective. And maybe being shown that, hey, like, this coach really cares about you, and he's telling you this because he believes this in you. Like, that perspective is important, that people feel that way. Now, Bill wasn't like that. I mean, Bill did such a good job of getting like the character of men in that room were just hard people that just were fighters, man. Everybody was, I mean, I can go down the list of everybody on that team when we won Super Bowls, and it's just like dog, 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 dog. You know what I mean? And it's like there was nobody soft dudes crying about, Bill was mean to me today. It's just like I don't know. I have a different perspective on life I have a different perspective on discipline and criticisms. And, I just think, letting someone affect my feelings with the words that they say, especially in a professional moment, it's crazy. You're never going to hurt my feelings. Talk to me however you want, man. This is an impenetrable force. I'm going to listen to you, and I'm going to lose respect for you because you're talking like an idiot. And if we need to go handle it, we can go handle it. But you ain't going to hurt my feelings. And hopefully I can gain something positive from your crazy coaching style. But, like, if you let it hurt, but we're talking about something in society, though, man. I've noticed it noticeably. My last year at the Patriots in 2019, and then the last 2 years, we celebrated a kid's 21st birthday. And I'm like, I'm way too old for this. And, like, that – those young kids, they're kids, and they act different, man. Like, I've gotten to the point where I've been around long enough and I've seen a generation switch, and it's like, you got to be so careful how you talk to people now.
Yeah,
it's nuts. I don't know if you notice it over there. And the US is crazy right now with the young people are just like so sensitive.
I do notice that, and I have a younger brother who's 21. I chat to him about it, and he's not like that way. But like, I feel sorry for people who allow words to negatively affect them. Like, it's crazy. You go out in the world today, and you are at the mercy of what someone else says, and then that ruins your day. And you get all of. Are you serious?
Yeah. Are you that easily affected? Are you that? Is your wall that penetrable? Is it paper thin? Like, you said that very well. Like, I couldn't agree more. I feel bad for people like that. And, it's unfortunate. They're probably on edge all the time. They're thinking about every word someone's saying, and was their tone right? And what did they really mean by that? It's just like, bro, that's got to be exhausting.
It does.
Right? It is, for sure. So, yeah, man. But at the end of the day, you can't worry about all these other people. You gotta worry about yourself. And hold on. I don't know why that's like ringing. And now I can't.
So,
hold on 1 second. Let me end this. Okay, sorry about that, my man.
No, cheers. I know you got to go now. No, thanks.
I'm getting a couple phone calls now, and I'm not answering people. So.
Yeah. Hey, thanks so much for your time. It's been unreal chatting. It's been brilliant.
No worries, man. Just shoot me a message whenever, and hit me up on that whenever you post it up, and you get everything you want, because I do need to.
No, it's unreal. Yeah, it's unreal. Yeah, best. Hey, hope those knees get good and you're out golfing, and maybe see on a rugby field at some point. Who knows?
Even if it's touch, man. Maybe I'll be a ref or something.
Oh, I wouldn't wish that on anyone.
I know, not right now. You're right. All right, man. I gotta run.
Hey,
thanks for your time.
Cheers, Nate. Thanks a million. Appreciate you.
Later.